Congressman, let me start with you. And Liz, we know your history. You tweeted ahead of 2016 that if Trump didn't win the election, you were grabbing a musket. You've apologized for those comments. But from that perspective, how do you view what you're hearing from Senator Graham as this investigation goes on?
Yeah, Victor, look, to predict violence and or to warn about violence, but not condemn it is terribly irresponsible and terribly dangerous. And Lindsey Graham knows that. Lindsey Graham knows what he said last night will inflame people and is dangerous. I hear threats of violence every single day. And I will say, Victor, if Donald Trump is indicted, there will be violence. I mean, look what happened on January 6th. But those threats of violence should never stop the pursuit of justice. That's what a country who believes in the rule of law does. Lindsey Graham knows that, and it's shameful he didn't acknowledge that.
Yeah, and Ron, I want your quick thoughts on that, because we've all seen this horror movie before, as the congressman says, that if you have to be worried about violence, and of course we are after seeing the foaming at the mouth mob that came out on January 6th, then that means that Donald Trump can never be held responsible for the things that he's done wrong, like the gross mishandling of these classified documents.
Yeah, the comments from Lindsey Graham are really, Allison, just another measure of how much political and social life in America is changing in the Trump era. I mean, you know, it happens day by day in a way that sometimes it's easy to lose sight of. But think about how common threats of violence have become throughout the political system, against election workers, against public health workers in Board of Education meetings, against members of Congress who voted to impeach Donald Trump. We are seeing a kind of absorption of threats of violence at the edge of the Republican coalition in a systematic way, and too few of the party leaders, explicitly and unreservedly saying this is unacceptable. Instead, you get the kind of things that Lindsey Graham did yesterday, in which he doesn't directly call for it, but he doesn't condemn it. And by, as the congressman said, by predicting it without condemning it, you are basically inviting it.
Congressman, to this expectation that the win in November for Republicans may not be above 60 seats, as McCarthy talked about back in November. The president has some legislative wins. Gas prices are down. Al-Zawahiri is dead. But how much of this is on the Republicans that win won't be as broad as they predicted earlier?
A whole bunch. I would say most of it. Look, we're talking about a party, my former political party, that nominated a bunch of crazy, nutty, election-denying candidates. And as we've discussed before, that plays really well in a Republican primary. It doesn't play as well in the general election. The other thing is Trump. Trump, Trump, Trump. I mean, what have we all been talking about for the past month? Donald Trump, classified documents down at Mar-a-Lago. Trump energizes the Republican base, but he gets independents and all the rest of America out to vote as well, which is what happened in 2018 and 2020, and it could happen again this year.
Ron, I think it's interesting what we're hearing from some Republicans now, mainstream Republicans, who really take umbrage at something that President Biden said behind closed doors at this fundraiser. This wasn't, on the record, but he said it out loud to this group. And so what the reporting is that he said at this fundraising event on Thursday was, quote, "What we're seeing now is the beginning or the death knell of an extreme MAGA philosophy. It's not just Trump, it's the entire philosophy that underpins the," I'm just going to say something, it's like semi-fascism. So what you're hearing from some Republicans now, including Governor Sununu in New Hampshire, they're trying to, I think, make this sort of the basket of deplorables equivalent, which is they're taking great personal offense at this, Ron. And but don't they distinguish between the MAGA wing and themselves?
Right. I think the President Biden was on stronger ground because he attributed this to the MAGA philosophy or MAGA movement. You always want to be careful when characterizing large groups of people, obviously, as the leader of a country. But the president is far from alone in viewing the MAGA faction, which is now clearly the dominant faction in the Republican Party, whatever folks like Chris Sununu want to say, that is the dominant faction in the Republican Party. There are many experts in authoritarianism and the decline of democracy, Daniel Ziblatt, Ruth Ben-Ghiat, who will tell you that that movement in the Republican Party has more in common with what we have seen in authoritarian parties in countries like Hungary or Turkey than they do out of the American political tradition. I mean, 2/3 of Republican attorneys general filed a lawsuit to overturn the 2020 election. 2/3 of House Republicans voted to overturn the 2020 election. In multiple polls, including by Vanderbilt and the American Enterprise Institute, a majority of Republicans have said the American way of life is disappearing, traditional way of life is disappearing so fast we may have to use force to save it. You talked about the nomination of election deniers. It's uncomfortable for people like Sununu to acknowledge that they are now in a coalition that includes clearly anti-democratic forces, but it's hard to ignore the evidence that they are.
Congressman, we've only got about 15 seconds. Your thoughts on the outrage and the comment from the president?
Victor, it's ridiculous. Look, I come from the mega cult. I escaped the mega cult. President Biden was talking about the philosophy behind mega. He wasn't calling out specific voters. I don't think he went far enough in what he said.